Hello, puppies and kids. Welcome to another episode of Blasphemers Bible. We're going to be doing a shorter episode today for a few reasons. One of them being that our resident scholar Kip Davis wants to get really verbose on one of the upcoming psalms. So we may just do a single show on that.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. A whole show on one psalm, and it's not even 119.
Right, yeah, that one might take a while too, but for a different reason.
Oh God, for different reasons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hey, I was just talking about Psalm 119 yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fun. So no, it's okay. It's it's an acrostic psalm, and it is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It is consistently structured as an acrostic psalm, so that in every copy that we have of it, and I think it's like 7 or 8 copies. Some manuscripts are just of Psalm 119, just a single scroll with Psalm 119 in it. But they're all written, with each line dedicated to the correct verse, stanza. Sorry.
So it's not acrostic, it's a verse stick. What is the acrostic verse saying?
I'm a little confused. If it's necrotic, does that mean that it's rotting?
Ha 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 ha.
Either way, we're not talking Psalm 119 today. That's
no, I know. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. I just I was talking about it yesterday, and I'm easily distracted, so I'll shut up now. Just hiding here behind my coffee.
We have a comment already from Dara O'Kane, 4236, who says, "How can you look at the world today and not think demons walk the earth? I believe the Antichrist is Peter Thiel, and I don't even believe in Jesus." Well, sorry, it's not Peter Thiel. Close. It's
that is really close.
It's not Peter Thiel.
No, the thing is,
he's got the wrong Peter.
Right. Yes, the wrong one.
I don't know.
Like that shows Donald Trump and all these biblical references to to describe the Antichrist, and they all describe. There's like 12 of them. They all describe Trump. The one that's missing from that list is that they will wear his mark on their forehead, and I don't know why it's not on the list. The MAGA cap should be.
Oh, he's got the mark on his. Is there supposed to be a mark on the hand too? I don't
it
remember.
could be on your hand or on your forehead. The minute he comes out with wristbands, he's got the full set.
Collect the whole set.
Exactly. Be the evil Antichrist today. Only you can cause the apocalypse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
anybody, we have any opening commentary on 16?
Well, I think, before we hop into it, I did want to point out a few things here, not just about 16, but about the stuff we'll be reading today overall. So like Aaron noted before, we are going to save Psalm 22 for next time because of multiple reasons, but mostly because Kip really wants to talk for a long time, which is totally fine. We completely approve of that. We send him a link to this show. Anyways,
that I can go to the North American Reptile Breeders Conference sooner this afternoon.
Oh, I'm glad everything's working out. Now, the one note that I have right away for Psalm 16 at least is that the text is pretty uncertain for definitely verses 3 and 4, and it makes the translation and interpretation very complicated. Like I have multiple readings pulled up of some of these, and I'm just like, I have no fucking idea. So hopefully we can get some insight into that. But that's my opening comment for Psalm 16.
Okay, so if we're ready, are we ready to jump into it?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm reading again from the King James, which I understand should have a title.
Right.
What is the title, sir?
Miktam of David.
Oh, it actually has that one.
Wow. Okay.
A Miktam of David. Yeah, incidentally, there's no notes here on what Miktam means. It's probably a musical or literary term, but who knows? Whatever. Vibe.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll get
it's-
to it.
Yeah, it seems sometimes in the Hebrew, the what you call introduction is a separate verse, and sometimes it's combined. So in this case, it's one verse, Michtam of David, and the next line. So maybe when that happens in the Christian one, they leave it in.
At
'cause
least
it's
in
like
the
so
King James
short.
version.
Yeah.
I don't know what a
Yeah,
miktam
'cause-
is. But I just thought of it as like a pasty where it's like baked into side bread.
Wow.
the meaning is
remembering-
uncertain. Yeah.
If I'm remembering properly, I think like the Septuagint uses inscription, which is like
Yeah.
but
Instruction,
it's literally like stone written, like written in stone. If I were to parse the word. So but yeah,
Okay.
there are a lot of different ones. It's been understood as like golden psalm and like some other stuff too. Like, yeah, this has been understood in a lot of ways.
All right.
Like a crown. Yeah.
But okay,
Jumping into it.
Yeah, hop into it.
Keep me safe, my God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord, because he doesn't know that unless I tell him. Apart from you, I have no good thing. I say to the holy people who are in the land, they are the noble ones, in whom is all my delight. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. I will not pour out libations of blood to such gods, or take their names on my lips. Lord, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have delightful inheritance. I will praise the Lord. I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Therefore, my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure, because you will not abandon me to the realm of the dead, nor will you let your faithful one see decay. You make known the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand.
So
Yes.
I think that it's very unfortunate that the two very interesting verses, that being 3 and 4, are the ones that are so uncertain. And I'm not actually sure if we have those issues because
Is that
of
really
like,
unfortunate?
yes, actually. So
It's more fun. No,
it's unfortunate because I'm like, I'd like to have some consensus on some things. So the when it comes to those verses, I don't actually know if it's because like of I didn't have enough time to look into this. If it's because of textual corruption or if it's because of uh like lack of it showing up in manuscripts or if it's because of like just variant readings. I don't actually know the reason why it's so uncertain. But either way, there are quite a few things that we should discuss for this. So in verse 3, the holy ones in the land, the Kadesh. So it might be taken. So there are a few hypotheses for this, right? So it might be taken, for example, might be as a sarcastic comment referencing the gods the psalmist used to believe in, as that was suggested by Dahoud. But Kedoshim as a title for the gods appears in Canaanite inscriptions. Like when you're talking about like
all
the
throughout the
council.
Bible too.
Yeah. It's when you're talking about like the whole council of deities, it refers to that. So like it goes way back.
Sorry.
So it may have gained like potentially, it may have gained like a more secular quote unquote it's the word holy, right? So like I don't know how secular you could be, but potentially in a more secular meaning over time, it just became a generic word for holy. I'm not sure. Maybe that's possible. But we should also note that so like in Leviticus, right after he gives the Levitical laws about having clean and unclean food, God says, "For I am the Lord your God. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be holy, for I am holy." Uh, so we can kind of see him as a part of this, as still having this trait. So this kedoshim, yeah, it could be like the holy ones, or it could be. I think I read a commentary that some translations use this as like pagan gods or something like that, and I'm like, I haven't seen one. Uh, so I'm not saying that they don't exist. I just haven't found a commentary that translates it that way,
You haven't
or
come across it.
a translation that does it that way. So
So Yahweh is frequently identified as the Kadosh
yeah,
Israel, the Holy One of Israel. I mean, usually when I see it in the text, I just come to think of it as like a generic, very similar to Elohim, designating like a divine being, but probably distinguished as in terms of the singular and the plural form. Excuse me.
I just want to point out the word holy in this context. Righteous is somehow how it's translated. It's important to remember that we're not talking about Christians now. They'll do this whenever you bring up the immorality of the God of the Bible. They'll try and insist that God is somehow metaphysically the ground of morality, and without him, it would have no basis, which is fucking ridiculous. But anyway, it's important to point out that with righteousness and holiness here, it doesn't have that flavor. This is not God is inherently perfectly just. It's more like he has the power, the embodiment of godly power, and it's more like the king, it's his job to do justice. But also, I guess in a way it comes full circle. It is defined by what he decides it is. But not in the way that you would appeal to say, look at how virtuous he is. It's more like power based. He's the enforcer. He can make what he wants to happen, appeal to his good side. There's definitely an element of that where when your life relies on sucking up to, frankly, to ultimate powers because your king or your general or whoever is can just cut off your head if you piss them off. You flatter them a lot about how just and reasonable they are in the hopes that they won't be crazy and cruel. It's some of that flavor here. I think it's an inversion of what they pretend now.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of flavor, verse 4, the drink offerings of blood. So the psalmist is alluding to a pretty common polemic against pagan religions that we've seen. And we can look at the way that especially post-exilic prophetic texts like second and third Isaiah portray the pagan opponents as sacrificing their own children, for example, or how Moloch offerings are seen throughout the Bible and its later texts. Like, even though like we can talk about like, how Moloch sacrifices were maybe just like a type of sacrifice, the way that it's been portrayed is very different than the way scholars talk about Moloch sacrifices. But Dahoud gives a very different translation of this, and I'd like to hear Kip's thoughts on this, especially. And this is for verses 3 through 4.
Okay.
As for the holy ones who were in the land, because he was the one who was hypothesizing this was about these other gods, and the mighty ones in whom was all my delight. May their travail pains be multiplied, prolong their lust. I surely will not pour libations to them from my hands, nor will I raise their names to my lips. So I'm not entirely sure here. I have a note that I left on what I think, not that I'm qualified to do this. But this is just like from context clues. So I did say I think it's probably an incorrect reading, because if the psalmist used to be a believer in the Canaanite pantheon, then he would know Kedoshim would be a way to refer to them. So why would he go on to give that title when he, while saying he won't say their names? But again, it's not actually their name. So
It's
like,
not their name.
right, yeah. So I'm not sure. But the missing blood in Dahoud's text. So he does explain this. But it stems from his belief that there was an Ugaritic cognate, which means lust. And so I would like to hear thoughts on that once I get through my section here.
Or,
I just want to know if this means that offerings to God are taken as some sort of sexual favor to them.
Sexual favor? What?
Well, no, the pleasure of the god. It's the descriptions a
Oh,
little bit.
okay, gotcha.
Well, that's interesting.
I want to.
I'll say that.
I don't have. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. But I wanted to finish up my section here by commentary, at least for verse 10. For you, do not give me up to Sheol, or let your faithful one see the pit. So this has been taken by Christians as a reference to salvation from death, and it's based on. Oh, this is based on their use of the Septuagint, where the pit is translated as diaphthora, which is like death, destruction, ruin, or even like moral corruption. According to Addison Wright, the apostles rallied to the Septuagint version of shahat, a meaning that the word seems to have in the Qumran scrolls, which is also something I want to have Kip's opinion on when we get to it. I will bring it up again. But the thing that I noted coming out of this was the contrast between how the pagan gods are served versus how Yahweh is served. So the pagan deities bring sorrows, while Yahweh brings good. And the pagans have their drink offerings of blood, while the cup of the psalmist is Yahweh. And of course, he won't even say the names of the pagan deities, but he uses the name of Yahweh all the time. So the contrast between the pagan deities and Yahweh here, I thought was kind of neat.
I thought that the Lord was served by hand on a cracker with no condiments.
Different Lord. Aaron.
Well,
later.
I thought Lord was Randy Marsh.
Okay.
Well, you see, those gods drink cups of blood, whereas this god only wants the charred corpses of his enemies and occasionally his servants and definitely all their cattle. But he will later serve himself in a cup of blood because that's how he rolls, which is so much better, obviously.
I got some comments to read. Satan616 said that J.D. Vance might have been the Antichrist, but he left his mark not on the hand or forehead, but on the couch. Then Shut Up Matt says, Aaron, Lawrence, Kip, acrostic verses? That's close to Bible code shenanigans, yes, no?
Just poetry.
Yeah, that's not Bible code shenanigans. No, that's just the thing that they did.
Yeah, I mean, a more common type of acrostic that you would find in like Western poetry is where each letter on the first line, if you read it down, is a sentence or a word.
Right.
Hebrew poetry, normally it's like the order of the alphabet. You don't really find that much in English, but
Yeah,
well, if God was really perfect and infallible and all that, then he'd be able to write it where you can read it both ways, not just the first line, all of it.
I mean, it's just a poetic convention. This isn't a Bible code thing because this was intentional and people do that. They do acrostic style. And it's not just reserved for poetry. There's a great little case when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California, when this guy kept sending him this request for this, this bill or whatever that he was absolutely not going to sign. And he sent a reply, and the first letter of each sentence reading down along the page said, fuck off.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and then, of course,
Nice.
he insisted he had no idea, didn't no.
Yeah, and I
It
believe that.
I like it.
And then Jojo Freelancer KUP says, where are the Psalms written, and which oldest manuscripts and fragments do we have, and in which kind of Hebrew?
Well,
So-
where are they? These are.
This
that's
is the compilation.
right. Yeah. Where are the Psalms written?
But-
a lot of places.
That's
But a
true.
lot
But
of places.
mostly, probably
The oldest
most of
manuscripts we have
Judah
are from
and Babylon.
So
So
that's a fair
maybe
question. I
Egypt.
don't know where the Psalms are written, but I know that the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls.
Mm.
Mm.
So manuscripts are the oldest manuscripts are in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
And the oldest of those date to the mid 2nd century BCE. And we have lots of them. Lots. So
Yeah.
but
and-
what we don't have is any manuscripts with like the book of Psalms with like 150 Psalms in it.
Oh wow.
We might have one of those at Masada from like the late 1st century, but one of my mentors, Peter Flint, wrote did all his PhD work in manuscripts of the Psalms in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he argued that there is actually like a 150 Psalm scroll at Qumran, but they're all really fragmentary, right? So it's hard to say. I'm not entirely convinced by his arguments for it. It'd be a big ass scroll, which is probably partly why it's not there. What we do have are a bunch of manuscripts that are quite a bit smaller, with just 1 or 2 or 5 to 10, maybe 15 on them. There's a couple of quite large ones, like 11Q Psalms A, that have most, like a good chunk of like the last part of the Psalms. So like from like Psalms I think it's 90 through 154 plus some other stuff. That's the other thing too, is there's not just there's an admixture of other texts, manuscripts with other things that don't appear in any of our books of the Psalms that are poetic
Interesting.
compositions. Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
an outline, a division, book 1, Psalms 1 to 41. This is obviously somewhat traditional simplified breakdown, 42 to 72 in book 2, 3, 73
Yep.
to 89, 4, 90 to 106, and 5, 107 to 150. Now, depending on the size of the scrolls, that could have been a scroll division, but that's also
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's definitely like a late division because they're trying to mimic the Torah.
Yeah, and yeah, there's that look at the
But
books of
it's
the Torah going through kind of thing.
the
But
concept is certainly grounded in reality, though, where they collected these things together in different collections, right?
right.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. Because there's also the Eloistic Psalter,
yeah,
which is like we're
Yeah.
going to be rereading a lot of the same Psalms, but they a lot of very similar Psalms, to put it that
just
way,
yep,
with just a different name for God.
yeah, that's fun, eh? But
Uh,
it's funny. It's funny. Michael Jones never talks. I should go back and look at that. When he gets all pissy about the documentary hypothesis, he never talks about what's going on in the Psalms.
no, of
Interesting
course
that.
not. The people who are pissy about the documentary hypothesis are trying to get back to the myth of a Mosaic authorship, and it's like, no, honey, no. Like, just
The
no.
thing is, and Kip and I talked about this when I was on his channel
We
last.
did, yeah.
When they
Hey, we were talking about Michael Jones, weren't we?
Yeah. And he was like, oh, he was talking about the supplementary hypothesis. I'm like, do you even know what that is? Because like Van Setters is even more critical of
Yeah.
the text than people like Wellhausen were. Like like you could
Oh,
like
absolutely.
even if you say that Van Setters debunked the documentary hypothesis, his model is way more critical.
Oh, absolutely. It's like saying looking at the problems with Newtonian physics and insisting that means we go back to Aristotle and the
Mhm.
carriage won't continue unless the horse continues to pull it. So gravity is just, it's yeah, you're like, no, 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 we have transcended this. We're at like, relativity now. We're never going back. It's not an option. The documentary hypothesis, I mean, we talked about this at the time. I used it as I think it's a good onboarding point for a lot of people who don't necessarily have a huge background in all of this stuff, the breakdown
Yep.
into 4 things. Like people can
Agreed.
handle that. You can understand that, but it's still just the bones and supplementary and fragmentary. It's honestly, it's all a bit of a soup to dig out these things. But yeah, you're moving further and further away from the myth of mosaic authorship. The only problem with the documentary hypothesis is that it's not far enough broken down and criticized. So all the people like when I came across, of course, you run into all these evangelicals trying to pretend that there are problems with the documentary hypothesis, and I'm like, dude, like if you just read, you don't even have to read that much to realize, yeah, no, their problem is that it's still not breaking down your belief enough. Like it's way further off. All the corrections are away from your position further. There's no going back.
We got a couple more comments. Trevorn 369 says, if God wrote the Bible, he is indeed a terrible communicator based on how many different interpretations. If I agree or conclude on it, I can be so wrong depending on who you ask.
Yeah, no argument there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Illyra the Free sent 50 RN Raw gift memberships.
Lyra.
Thanks. Yeah. Doesn't everybody in the audience have one of these now?
Surely at this point.
Behold.
I've learned that you don't even have to be watching the show to get a gift membership sometimes.
Right, yeah.
I think it's going in some sort of cycle because
They're
they're
random. They're random
a long time
according
ago.
to YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
It prioritizes viewers in chat or people who are chatting, and then it's random after that.
No, I was
Yeah, but I
wondering.
think
That's
I
cool.
think maybe I got a gift like a couple of years ago, and then it ran out, and it's not going to give me again until it's given everyone else first, maybe.
Well,
Yeah,
I suppose we'll see.
I think they stopped prioritizing people in chat. Now it's just entirely random.
Well, shit. So I believe Tomer might want to talk about some stuff. Unless Kip wants to hit on some things.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Shut up.
All right. So in that case,
You're up, Tomer.
yeah, Tomer, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so commentators generally classify Psalm 16 as a song of confidence or a confession of faith. Craigie writes that while this is evident in verses 5 through 11, what is not certain is whether the psalmist expresses confidence in the midst of a crisis or as a result of deliverance from crisis. Verse 1 might imply a prayer for protection in crisis or a prayer for continuing protection similar to that recently experienced in the deliverance from crisis. Regarding the dating, Craigie writes that while all 6 Michtam Psalms belong to Davidic collections, with 4 of the 6, including 56, 57, 59, and 60, identified in their titles with particular incidents in the life of David, the substance of Psalm 16 contains no precise information which might permit dating or an identification of the author. Gerstenberger writes that it once served in the worship liturgies that purported to clarify the individual's affiliation with Yahwistic community, and this type of confession apparently belongs to the time of early Judaism. Kraus notes that Gunkel, based on Isaiah 57:3 forward, 62:11 forward, and 65:11 forward, assigned Psalm 16 to the situation of the post-exilic diaspora, while Dum suggested a later date. Weiser pushed the psalm back into the context of a pre-exilic cult of a national festival, quote-unquote. But Kraus writes that all attempts rest on an insecure foundation, and even on the basis of a statistical word study, a pre-exilic time of writing cannot be ruled out. Therrien writes that the poet was the heir of a tradition that had for generations transmuted faith into a credo, and vice versa, belief into utmost confidence. He writes that the poet, quote, adored a deity whose transcendence was not absorbed by a compassionate immanence, end quote.
We talked about Michtam a little bit, about what that means, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, a little bit.
I have more stuff about Michtam as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
Rashi has an interesting interpretation, that's for sure. And she has more than one.
So,
He does.
so the word
Sorry.
Michtam appears in the title of 6 Psalms, and its exact meaning is unclear. Rashi notes that Chazal in the Mutzatat 10b wrote that Michtam is a conjunction of mach, poor, and tam, perfect, both describing David, whose wound, machto, was perfect, tama, i.e., makato was perfect, tama, i.e., he was born circumcised. Yes. However, he rejects this
Okay.
reading.
His
Thankfully,
wound was perfect.
yes. But he, thankfully,
I
he
love your
rejects this reading.
accent.
That's
He
amazing.
rejects this reading and writes that Michtam was one of the names of the various types of melodies and the variations in the music. Ibn Ezra wrote that Michtam indicates a precious psalm, much like Ketem Paz, the most fine gold, in Song 511. Hameiri suggested that Michtam was the name of an instrument which was played in a low sound. Septuagint reads etelographia, which reads a stele inscription. Targum reads an upright composition. Both translations take michtam from michtav, writing, and possibly ketem, to inscribe. Craigie writes that from this root, there developed the word employed in the psalm title, and it may be that the only other occurrence of a form related to this root is in Jeremiah 2:22, nichtam, usually translated stained, and the word should perhaps be translated inscribed. Kraus writes that it could refer to presentations of offerings that are witnessed to on stele inscriptions of Asia Minor. He takes michtam to be an expression for a stellographic publication, though he writes that this explanation can be understood only as a hypothetical attempt at elucidation. Other suggestions include an epithet of David, humble or blameless, according to Symmachus and Jerome, a silent prayer, according to Eerdmans, a secret prayer, according to Tournai and Therrien, an atonement psalm from Akkadian Katamu, to cover or atone, according to Movinkel, the name of an early collection of psalms, according to Briggs, and an expiatory psalm, according to Gerstenberger.
That was pretty thorough.
Very thorough.
Although I did want to hear, Kip, do you have any thoughts on the translation of verses 3 and 4?
I'm still kind of processing that, honestly. I would have to, I think, I don't know, I'd have to think through the one that you gave about the perversions taking the place of midam as the libations for
Oh, sure, yeah.
other gods. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'll say that. And it's kind of, it's a neat idea as well that this is some sort of rejection of the Canaanite pantheon. I don't know. I had this, I've got this fanfic that's running through my head at the moment with regards to this psalm because Tomer mentioned that that Michtam appears on psalms that indicate some sort of biographical connection to David. So now I'm imagining that if David was actually a Philistine, that this is the moment when he, he left the Philistine gods and chose to follow Yahweh.
Well, that's a good
Relevant to
fanfic,
that,
but
we have
And
but,
his conquest of
that is
what's
a good
that?
fanfic. But
I
I
like, isn't it
also
great?
I
I'm
I
gonna write a
also
movie script now.
I think that the depending on how legitimate the drink offering of blood reading is, I might place
Mhm.
this at like a later date. And I'm pretty hesitant to actually be like, oh, this is a rejection of the Canaanite pantheon. Uh,
It's a cool
it
idea
it is
though.
a cool
It's
I
a
don't
idea.
know.
cool
It's
idea. I think you could make a great fanfic out of it, and hell, some people will even start deciding it's the scholarship because people can't tell the difference between
Yeah,
reading
I know.
fiction and fact. I
it's
know. I'm
true.
sorry.
True.
It
True.
gives you.
I mean,
speaking
Learn more. If you learn more about things in the world, you'll be able to tell what's fiction and fact a lot more easily. But I was thinking,
uh,
because there's not always a distinction. Remember how many of the traditional practices in the worship of Yahweh were later besmirched as being, oh, that's the high places with the foreign gods. Well, actually, no, it was the original worship of Yahweh, but Yahweh was part of the pantheon. So, in this distinction between like worshiping Yahweh and those dirty foreign gods, I could see this as being an attempt to sort of smooth over to the approved version side.
hmm. I should. So I have a couple I have a couple other things that what's really frustrating um is that so often when it comes to these tantalizing, frustrating sort of textual issues,
Mhm.
and you go to check out what's going on in the oldest manuscripts in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Wouldn't you know it? Among all those copies of the Psalms we have, this is one of those places where we've got, some preserved material from verse 1 and then nothing until
Yeah.
verse 6. So
But that's a bummer.
isn't 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 that just the way?
Oh,
I should also say though, I'm starting to I'm starting to reconsider my own personal me personally. I'm starting to reconsider the relationship, the old relationship of Yahweh to the other gods of Canaan, and I'm not entirely convinced anymore that he ever was part of a pantheon.
No, no way he
Um,
was. No, I had this
I don't think
conversation
so.
with Craigie forever ago. Uh, that
Yeah.
the one reference to something that even looks like the name of Yahweh is like it would be weird if there was one. For if there's one, first of
Oh,
all,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
just one lone one in Canaanite texts. Like so we have no evidence really from Canaanite texts that he was a god in their pantheon.
None. None
Uh,
from them.
yeah.
Nope.
So
I
oh,
got a
it,
couple comments on this very topic. Dara O'Kane, 4236, says, "Are the pagan gods real in the Bible? Just obviously less strong than God. Like, can Moloch, Ra, and Zeus help their followers?"
depends what point it was written.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, didn't there's there? I know there's
Parts
a
of it for
passage.
sure.
I can't remember exactly what it was and where it was, but somebody was complaining that the other gods were just statues and couldn't do anything.
Well,
Mhm.
that's a very common polemic,
Like, yeah.
and it's gonna pop up even more. How like
Yeah.
they have eyes but don't see, they have ears but don't hear, yada yada. But the thing is, if we even take a look at like some of the stuff we've read so far on the show, like there are like we had of course the reference in Deuteronomy 32 8 through 9. We had, or we will eventually get to Psalm 82, and then also the Egyptians could still, uh, they still could do their magic by invoking their gods, just the same way
Mhm.
that Moses did it. It's just that Yahweh was better. Shocker.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
and
Yeah, I
I
think,
I
yeah.
should clarify. I know you said this is not exactly how the hypothesis is right now, but with Yahweh, he appears to have come in as somewhat of an outsider to the pantheon, but
Yeah.
then was also folded in with El Elyon, who was part of the pantheon or was son of El, and this whole rolling over evolution of gods that involves somewhat usurping, but somewhat also melding. And there were the traditional practices that were folded over, and that's how he ended up with Asherah as his wife for a little while because he had
Mhm.
subsumed the higher gods. And I was still working, well, it works well enough for a sketch that he was coming out of the south, that he was a southern Levantine god from, Yahoo or whatever the name of the town was. I prefer to think of it as Yahoo because I think that's fucking hilarious. But he's a Yahoo, literally. So he wasn't part of the pantheon himself, but then this melding of him and a god of the pantheon, one of the gods of the pantheon at the top at one point. And yeah, so but they folded in there was this attempt to both discredit and somewhat fold in traditional practices. I think it was probably a lot like what the Catholics did when they'd come in and they say you couldn't worship your gods, but then a bunch of saints start popping up that look a lot like the gods you were following, and maybe they take your
Yeah.
Yeah,
sacred space and repurpose it.
There's a
Like
lot of that.
it's
Yeah.
very syncretic, and the
Right.
but yeah, of course I like to use the phrase divine cannibalism. I
I
think
like that one.
Well,
I
that's
think
good.
that's the
Yeah.
best one. And
That
I
is good.
forget I
Mhm.
always forget where I read that. I don't know if it was from Thomas Romer, I don't know if it's from someone else, but I love divine cannibalism. So like I keep saying it and I don't know who actually originated it. I just remember
Also,
reading
Moloch
it.
wasn't a god.
Yeah, that too.
Sorry.
Then there's another comment. Where I just dropped that. It says Reimer's Braguiar that directed at Lawrence said, "Did the Philistines follow the Canaanite pantheon though?"
I mean, yeah.
They
Ev-
would have, yeah.
Eventually, no,
Well, they were
they
the
would
sea people, so
syncretized.
the discussion of
Yeah.
who exactly they
Well, they
were
were
and how that
one
would have
they were one group of sea peoples. But like the Philistines were like
fair enough.
there on that,
But they would
like
have
on
brought
that
with
coast,
them.
sure.
They would have brought with them like, Indo-European, like Greek gods
Traditions,
and
cultures. Yeah. That
Yeah.
kind of
Very
stuff.
proto, though. We're
but they
not
probably would have
thinking Hippogric
syncretized pretty
pantheon.
quickly.
Like the thing is, like the Philistines were like already in the land for a long time.
Yeah.
We have like good archaeological evidence for that.
Mm-hmm.
What they did, they got rid of their old gods like that
And
quickly.
then my unfinished journey says, "Hail Aron and Panel, and hail divine cannibalism."
Very nice.
It is so funny because it's like in evolution, you see the evolution through generations. And with gods, there's no clear birth and death date. So instead of, these changes you can trace through generations, it's like the melding going all the way across and just it looks like it's honestly the idea version, the conceptual version of like the crocoduck or shit creationists come up with when they don't understand evolution. You end up with this ungodly chimera of mishmash, and then people trying to make excuses why it's not bullshit. It's ridiculous.
But anyways, before we hop into Psalm 17, I gotta grab one thing. So
Tom, are you finished 16?
Tomer
Where did he
looks like
go?
he's gone.
He
Tomer?
just left.
Tomer fell off. I'm not sure what happened, but I can't change the people over when someone leaves. So
Okay, we'll wait for him. Tomer needs to take care of his family. This is not the best time for him because people in power are awful.
Yeah, he's got some things going on. I mean, among other things, Iran is lobbing missiles at them occasionally.
Oh, he did message me. Oh, he wants me to read his stuff.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you, Tomer.
But why is it only on my phone and not?
All right.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong person. Yeah. So 16. I guess we've done 16. So
You did
we can-
16, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so we should hop into 17 then, which I suppose I can do.
Yeah, we got one more comment before you jump into it. My unfinished sock says, "Don't devour old gods, or do." I'm not a dietitian. Either way, like and share the stream. Oh, and by the way, well, I'll send a message about it, Kip. I wanted to talk about what you wanted to talk about that we were talking about before. Send it in private messages.
All right.
Sure.
I will hop into Psalm 17 then. Hear a just cause, O Lord. Attend to my cry. Give ear to my prayer from lips free of deceit. From you let my vindication come. Let your eyes see the right. If you try my heart, if you visit me by night, if you test me, you will find no wickedness in me. My mouth does not transgress. As for what others do, by the word of your lips I have avoided the ways of the violent. My steps have held fast to your paths. My feet have not slipped. I call upon you, for you will answer me, O God. Incline your ear to me, hear my words. Wondrously show your steadfast love, O Savior of those who seek refuge from their adversaries at your right hand. Guard me as the apple of the eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings. From the wicked who despoil me, my deadly enemies who surround me. They close their hearts to pity. With their mouths they speak arrogantly. They flush me out. Now they surround me. They set their eyes to cast me to the ground. They are like a lion eager to tear, like a young lion lurking in ambush. Rise up, O Lord, confront them, overthrow them. By your sword, deliver my life from the wicked, from mortals. By your hand, O Lord, from mortals whose portion in life is in this world. May their bellies be filled with what you have stored up for them. May their children have more than enough. May they leave something over to their little ones. As for me, I shall behold.
Behold!
Everyone has to say it.
Behold. Do we all have to say it at once?
Behold!
Just Isaac, now it's your turn.
Behold!
Behold.
There you go. Okay.
I like how Isaac turns into the old man. Behold!
As for me, I shall behold your face in righteousness. When I awake, I shall be satisfied. Beholding.
Oh, so you're going to be
You
satisfied when
have
you're
to say
beholding.
Beholding?
Beholding.
What are you beholding?
Your likeness. All right. So, that is
I'd be holding a Bible.
Psalm 17, and this is a very clear like defense plea with God as a judge, and it contains a lot of similarities. At least when I was reading through this, I kind of got reminded of this. And it's not like it's like the only place this occurs, but I thought that there was just like a lot of them here. But it contains a lot of similarities to the Egyptian Hall of the Double Truth, where there are 42 negative confessions. And this I wanted to pull out my big beautiful book, the biggest book. You know, it's the bigger one. It's so big and beautiful. Just look at it. So like this is probably the most like up to date translation of the Book of the Dead, and spell 125 in here.
Do you think an Egyptologist wrote that translation?
Yes, an Egyptologist, and not a disgraced one either. So this page, by the way, like you can actually tell, like, look how cool this shit is. like it comes with like the
Ooh.
pictures, right? So you can see the actual like book there.
Text.
And
Yeah.
this page, specifically the one with spell
Wow.
125, has these flaps, right? Because the page is bigger.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's awesome.
I'm not going to
That's
read
beautiful.
the whole. Oh, whoops! I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is pretty long. But, oh wait, hold on. This is the wrong one.
No
But
wonder
there's
they
another
took a
one.
book with them to remember all the things they were supposed to vow they hadn't done. Like, just, I can't remember that, especially not if I've just died. It's
Well,
very
the thing is-
tiring to die.
The thing is, that's why they're written, though, is the thing. So you can
Mhm.
read them when you're dead. Sorry, this is the actual page with spell 125. You can see it right there. You can see you might be able to see the gods there.
You
with
should
the
be
spells
embiggened.
written under them. So it's I think this is really cool, and this is the Hall of the Double
I
Truth.
think so too.
So this is why it reminded me, right? So if we take a look at some of the negative confessions in the psalm, yeah, you'll find no wickedness in me. My mouth does not transgress. My feet have not slipped. Shit like that. So like, let me just read off a couple of these. O wide strider who came forth from Heliopolis, I have not done wrong. O fire embracer who came forth from Carrara, I have not robbed. And like you say, like, yeah, I've not robbed, I have not slain people, I have not destroyed the food offerings. So many things, so many negative confessions. You have to say, I did not do these things. One of my favorite ones was oh hot legs who came forth at twilight, I have not transgressed. That one was very funny to me. Oh hot legs.
baby.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
it's not Hot Lips.
Right, yeah.
No.
So
Some guys are
Old
leg
enough to
men.
know that one.
yeah, so
Mm.
this one, when I was reading through the psalm, I was like, oh, that reminds me of the Hall of the Double Truth. So I just wanted to present my big beautiful book. But that was just something I wanted to hit on there. So for verse 8, the shadow of your wings there could be an allusion to the cherubim on Yahweh's throne. I think we actually have that in a different psalm as well, when they're talking about like riding on his wings. In verses 13 through 15. Now, when I was reading this, because there are again some translation difficulties. Like Dahoud does take these to be imperatives. Like he's like Dahoud takes them to be like, slay these men.
Mhm.
So like and like in the NRSV UE, it's translated as mortals. So instead of an imperative, to kill them. But I was looking through this and I was like, oh, I don't know. Part of me was feeling, and maybe this is just from the English translation, so it's probably wrong. But I was reading through this, I was like, oh, is there some resurrection theology here? Because like you have mortals, the ones whose portion is in this life, on one hand, and on the other hand, you have the psalmist who is gonna see Yahweh's likeness, or he's gonna see his face, right?
Mm.
So I was thinking, oh, is there some resurrection theology in there? But I'm probably wrong on that. But either
Yeah,
way,
'cause he says mortals, so he could include himself in that. Like, basically, be nice to us. We're poor, unfortunate mortals, and our
right.
lot
But
is in this world.
Yeah, where
But
the thing is, their lot is in the next world because they do believe in the new heaven and new earth theology. So that's what made me think of that.
Is
Fair enough.
that verse 14 where it says where it translates mortals?
Yes.
Where is that?
Yes, verse 14.
Okay.
And I did look at the Hebrew, and I checked a dictionary, and I didn't see mortal as
This is
one of
no.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
see
no,
mortal as
it's
one of the
just
things.
and it's an unusual word though
Right, yeah.
for men too, or people. But yeah. The oh, okay. Yeah, okay. It's an Akkadian loanword by the looks of it. So,
Oh, okay.
Ah.
but
Well, we can date this psalm
no.
kind of
Yeah.
after.
Well, I mean, it's also, but it's also a new. It's in the Ugaritic as well. So yeah, I don't know, maybe not, right? It's yeah.
Be a common ancestor. Word. Kind of a thing. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much cross pollination for hundreds of years. It's yeah. I don't know. I got totally fixated on the fact that in verse 7 there's a hit polel participle from the verb cum, which is kind of amazing. So it's yeah, anyways, never mind. I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
So, Isaac, did Tomer send you stuff?
Yeah. Should I start?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Craigie labels this prayer as an innocent person's prayer for protection, though it may not be possible to gain further precision with respect to type and the implied social or religious setting of the psalm in its original context. He notes that Eaton interpreted the psalm as a royal prayer of supplication. All that can be certain is that the psalm reflects the situation of an innocent person under extreme pressure. Gerstenberger notes that Bialin argued in favor of a divine judgment institution at the temple, and that Psalm 17 agrees with some kind of institutionalized divine ruling segmented into different stages. The psalm then may be reckoned to have been part of such a procedure. Gerstenberger, however, writes that the alleged procedure is totally unknown to us and can be reconstructed only circularly by interpreting texts like Psalm 17. Kraus writes that we may probably assume that the Psalms belongs to the cultic traditions of Jerusalem and that it was associated as a prayer formula with the institution of divine dispensation of judgment. He writes, however, that with that consideration, we have also immediately opened up the perspective of transmission, and we have before us the question to what extent Psalm 17 may still be applied to that institution, and whether we have to think of a spiritualizing prayer song that developed from the cultic connections. Terrien notes that many affinities of expression and themes associate Psalm 17 with the poems of Jeremiah and his disciples, such as to probe and to probe my inner self, Jeremiah 6:27, 9:6, 11:20, etc. To visit, in the sense of to inspect, Jeremiah 6:15, 8:12, 15:15, etc. The shouts of distress, Jeremiah 20:10, and he writes, is the prophet of Judah's agony the source of this psalmodic prayer? Could it be, on the contrary, that Jeremiah himself, or one of his admirers, was influenced by this amazing piece of supplication? God as a refuge may have been the leitmotif of juridical rights, and yet the metaphor of divine protection, without any allusion to a sanctuary, may have penetrated the pious language of existential terror in mortal times. The psalm might even have been constructed by a well-trained singer who knew how to organize a strophic structure with exceptional skill. There's quite a lot there.
Yeah,
Yes,
speaking of quite a lot there, I have
Right.
to. I know this is completely irrelevant. I don't want to detract at all. I mentioned that someone in Israel that I knew back in the day is now a huge Trump supporter. And when I told them, I just need to fill you in on this because I just got the message. When he told me that the United States is internationally revered for our intelligence and courage in having hired Trump and allowed him to do unprovoked attacks against foreign countries and innocent fishermen and so forth. When I told him that I'm on a panel with people in Canada, in the Netherlands, in the UK, and so on, and that they all had a good laugh at his notion that when he said that we are so well respected internationally, he replied, and I need you to hear this. He replied that Canadians, British, and Dutch folks cannot walk safely in their own streets anymore. He asked me what I'm talking about. Thanks for taking the time on the podcast to tell everyone about what I wrote, and I'm happy you got a good laugh. My pleasure. Well, I'm sorry. Did you know that you can't, in the Netherlands, in the United Kingdom, and in Canada, you can't walk safely in your own streets anymore?
Right before the
No,
show, I
I
was
went-
flying my drone. I
I was
didn't
late to
even
the
notice
show.
the danger I was in, Arn. I probably was
I
distracted.
will go you better than walking my streets.
I was
A couple years back, I was visiting my parents during the a break when we were allowed to travel after we've had our vaccines with the COVID, and I didn't want to fly. I rented a car. I was driving through the mountains. It was winter because I was coming for Christmas. I was in a rental car, so I didn't have any of the survival shit I would have had in my own car. Sandbags, heating blankets, some food, all that jazz. I was really sleepy and tried to pull over, got stuck in the snow in the mountains, going into the interior where there is no cell service in a rented car and soft shoes. None of what I should have had in that situation. I didn't even panic. I wasn't even worried. I just stood there and waited until 3 people pulled over and helped me get out. I wasn't even worried because I knew the Canadians do that shit. And it was daytime. People could see me. It was fine. I wasn't even worried.
Canadians
That
have
is
some of the highest. They think of their own country people like they have the highest regard for their own people, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Less than
We take care of
most
each
Americans
other.
don't like other Americans.
We take care of
That
each
is
other. And
true. Us
in
Americans
the
do
Britain
hate
as
each
well,
other.
it's
Aaron,
like
fuck
75.
you.
I don't even lock the doors on my house.
Oh yeah, that's
In
what
fact,
I mean. Like
I have a
most
house
Canadians think other
key
Canadians are good
somewhere.
people.
I don't even know where it is because
my
it's
word.
been so long since
I
I've used
so
it.
know where you're
Like-
coming from, Kip.
But by
It's a
the
real
way,
problem.
yeah,
I'm trying to sell this house right now, and I don't know where the keys are. It's,
by the way, you might have noticed to the panel, you might have noticed that I came.
I mean,
like,
if anybody
5
tried
minutes.
to rob my house, there's no reward, and there's all kinds of shit to go through. What with the fucking pack of dogs?
yeah.
they're going to break in, see the snakes, and run away pissing
Right.
A
themselves. That's
pack
what's
of
happening.
dogs and tons
also-
of snakes. Who's gonna burgle your house, Arn?
There's also
There-
like 5 or 6 dogs.
Isaac,
But-
you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying that you might have noticed I came a bit. I was like literally 5 minutes before the show started. I turned up. I was running late because we went to Angel to have some food and go shopping and come back. And yeah, I got like stabbed like 20 times.
Yeah, very. I noticed. That's why you wore white,
that-
right? For the contrast. It's
No,
very
it was just
aesthetically pleasing.
traffic. But there has been I don't know what the word is, targeted campaign against London specifically. That this is a hellhole overrun with Muslims and Sharia
Yeah.
law, and that you can't walk the streets without being stabbed multiple times a day apparently, and it's crazy, and it's insidious how much you see it online, like
Yeah, online.
It's
has-
insane how many seemingly sensible people have bought into this too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want
Plenty of
you don't
my-
want your city turning out like London, right?
Right, yeah. Like some of my friends have even like bought into it, and they're otherwise reasonable. And I've like,
even British people, like if we've done like the surveys of the UK, and people who live in London think London is safe, but people who live in like small little towns or whatever in the north, they do have this idea that London is dangerous because of this this
bullshit.
I
I
don't know
gotta
if it's
tell you,
campaign or
London is my
whatever.
honestly, London is my favorite city in the world. I mean, I had a rare moment where for a few years I was able to visit London twice a year. I think for like half a dozen years I was able to do that.
Nice.
And I loved it. I mean, I've been every time I go, I never get in a hotel or a bed and breakfast. I learned my lesson there, but I always do like an Airbnb or whatever, and I end up in really nice places, excellent apartments, and I go to the metal clubs and Camden and all of that. I do all of that shit every time I go and have a great time. Honestly, I love London. It's awesome. I probably primarily because of the tube, because it's
Tube.
something that we don't. I live in Texas. You have to
Yeah.
have a car in Texas. But the first time I went to London, I went in a car, and it was utterly useless. Like,
Yeah, no.
what am I going to
there's
do with a car in London?
burn money. You just burn
don't-
money.
I
for
don't even have
endless
Where the
gas.
fuck do you put it?
Yeah,
What do you do?
exactly.
Where do you put the car?
There's
Yeah.
nowhere. And I mean, London is a big ass city. I'm sure there are some dodgy neighborhoods. Same thing with Toronto. I live there. And you know what
But
I saw?
the ones that
on-
people talk about,
Yeah, I know.
it's because there's Muslims,
Uh,
and Muslims are scary, and
yes,
multiculturalism
very brown
is
people.
bad, and London can't be safe because of
Oh,
multiculturalism.
fuck off.
And it has
You
a
know what I
Muslim
saw when I was on the subway in Toronto? Coming home late, I saw two guys high off their ass stop the train and run after a drunk woman because she forgot her purse on the subway. And then she ran back on, missed her stop, and went around to the next one because she was so grateful. She just had to thank them.
Oh, that's sweet.
That is the most
Yeah,
Canada
there's-
story
There's
I've ever
definitely
heard.
there's definitely bad things happen, and like it's not like nothing bad happens here, but it's like Americans will be like, oh, the stabbing is crazy, and like the people die from stabbing in America more than in the UK.
Yeah.
Dude, the fucking
There's not one
there are
city
mass
in the
shootings
UK
here like
that
every
is-
other day.
Yeah, we had a mass school shooting this past month,
No, but
which was
even-
tragic and horrible. But it is the second one since Columbine in our entire country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
this
it's
is-
even without
I
guns,
forget how
like-
many we've had this week, because
I
it's
don't
usually
think they're
one a
keeping
day here.
Right,
Track
yeah.
unless it's more than 20 people die.
But anyways, off topic.
It is a little bit
Well,
off topic. and I didn't mean
Arn
to
started
derail.
Arn started this off with speaking about a lot. You have a lot of comments to read, Arn, and the lot is coming
Right,
in the
yeah.
second comment.
Okay. All right. So I think I've got all these. Dara O'Kane, 4236, are the no. We read that one. I think.
No.
Yes.
Mauve,
Okay, so,
Mauve Journalist is the first one.
Okay. So digital arts.
What?
Ma-
No.
Mauve
Okay,
Jour-
I have it pulled
Mob
up
art.
here. I have it pulled up here. I'll read it. From Mob Journalist. May
Oh,
the
forgot
flying
it. I
spaghetti
see it.
monster bless you with an extra large beer volcano.
Yay!
I bought beer last night.
Ooh.
Yeah.
for you.
Coincidentally, yeah. I don't know what a beer volcano is, but I was out to dinner with Matt Dillahunty last night, and I did have to order a tower of beer.
See,
That-
there
is
you
that
go.
that's the American version.
Is that the one I had? I was at a Danish bowling alley once, and we had beer towers. It was fun. I was at a conference with a bunch of other biblical scholars, and we went
Well,
bowling with beer
Well,
towers.
if you ever
It was
come to
great.
Dallas, I'll take you to a Hungarian vampire bar.
Oh, that sounds pretty
Yes.
dope. I want to go there.
Yeah.
You would. It's pretty cool. So let me see. Alira the Free sent 50 RN memberships. I think that's a different one than the one I read before.
It's the second
Wow.
one.
Elira, you're
Right.
an
Yeah,
angel.
I saw that
Yeah.
one come in.
And then BMW 95 says, "Can we get the title and author of Lawrence's big, beautiful book? Would love to get a copy."
I know who didn't write it.
Yeah.
Lawrence.
Yeah, me too. So this is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Book of Going Forth by Day, the complete papyrus of Ani, featuring integrated text and full color images. So this is from Dr. Ogden Gollett Jr., Raymond Faulkner, who's a big name, Carol Andrews, J. Daniel Gunther, and James Wasserman. So those are the authors and editors of this big, beautiful book. So it is probably the best one on the market right now. If you have God, who did like the first translation of the Book of the Dead? I forget his name. One of the very early Egyptologists. His translation is like
Was
really
it Petrie?
no, it wasn't Petrie. But his translation's like really out of date now. But people still use it because it's very accessible, and it's like the one that's like that like everyone has access to. Like it's online everywhere. I forget his name. Kind of looking through here, but definitely don't use his.
What's the
What Budge? It was Budge. It was Wallace Budge.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Don't use the Budge translation. That was something that my Egyptology professor directly told us. She was like, "This thing is very outdated now." It was a good try at the time. But no, like we know far more now. So
What's the manuscript? You mentioned
the
it,
Papyrus of Ani.
the Papyrus of Ani. That's super fucking old, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Okay, so then Bruno Zeigert, 6379, offers $5 Californian and says, ask your friend if he knows about school shooting in the U.S. I'm guessing that one was directed to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Terrence Clark offers $5 and says, my conservative mother has on many occasions warned me of the violent rioters burning down the streets in Madison I was standing on when she called.
You're talking about the city, Madison?
I love
like
that.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, it was Madison, Wisconsin. Is that what they're talking about? Or is there another Madison? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm guessing it's the one that everybody would think of first.
Okay. Yeah,
It's a
no,
hellhole.
Madison's fine.
From what I've heard, it's
You'd
just,
think so, but sometimes Americans are like, "Yeah, I'm from Paris." Like, "Oh, do you speak French?" Why Ohio? We don't speak French.
Ohio. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was working at some job where I've had to talk to customers in different states, and I'm talking to somebody in what looks to me to be Prague, Oklahoma. And so I said, okay, you live in Prague? And he gets angry with me. He goes, that's Prague.
It's like I learned that there is a I used to watch this show called Plathville, which is about like a reality show about a super conservative Christian family from the town of Cairo, Georgia. But
Yeah.
they call it Keiru, of course.
Oh. ugh.
Right? Like it, yeah, but we have
Yeah,
a London in Ontario. We have a Surrey out here in
You have
British
fake London.
Columbia. Yeah, very fake. So yeah.
All right, what's
I live in an area that's called de Beauvoir or de Beauvoir, and
Oh.
for a long time it was like in the 80s. It was like,
Sounds
a poor
very
area.
bougie.
Yeah, it sounds very bougie, but in like the 80s it was very low class, and the locals called it de Beaver.
Nice.
And then I don't know what order this one
Yeah,
is.
Beaver Town.
That's
yeah,
our
thank you.
animal.
I think this is the most recent comment. Digital Arts said, any reason to think Bible writers believed? Some state they were meant to be fictional stories, and others claim that they were created to control. Are both true? What does the evidence say?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that is true, right? Like I've spent just as an example, like I've spent a fair bit of time recently. I'm working on a video script right now, and part of it spent a fair bit of time with the very, very short story, but one that everybody seems to know about, the she bears and the little
Mm.
boys and Elisha in like Second Kings chapter 2, right? Like this is the reason this story is such a problem for Christian apologists is because they're committed to this idea that all of this stuff happened. Um, you could even read this like it's like you have to read this story with, like your mom in mind, wagging her finger at you, going, "Now, don't you disrespect your elders because the she bears are going to come out and maul you," kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like our parents all told us horrible shit like that. Like, it's kind of like that's an example. But
Oh yeah.
there's,
My memory
and
for
I
the
think,
Bible, my mother has that memory for ways you can die and all the things she's ever heard of happening to anyone.
yeah, but like I think there's a lot of this stuff that people who wrote it understood that this is, these are fictions, this is mythology, this isn't real life. But then I mean there was a lot of people, I suspect, who took it much more seriously, realistically, than others. And certainly there's a heavy dose of propaganda in the text
Oh yeah.
from the ruling elites who were using it in an effort to promote their own hegemony and to denigrate their opponents. So
And
like it's
even
all
in
in there.
that, some of them might have been sincere, might have sincerely believed that they were
Yeah.
divinely chosen and that it was their divine right and responsibility to rule. It's sort of a question of whether they were serious or sincere, because in the
Mhm.
history of religion, it has been a thing. Absolutely. You're not writing literal textbook history. You're writing mythologies that express and preserve your ideas and ideals and tell people how to behave. It's aspirational sometimes or cautionary. It doesn't mean they're lying. I keep coming back. I wish I could remember this quote appropriately. That said, basically, it's not that they were so stupid they thought all this was literal and we are enlightened and understand it to be metaphor. It's that they were smart enough to speak metaphorically because it translates and carries and survives better.
Very
And
good.
we are so stupid we insist on taking it all literally. So
That's
if
very
you're
good.
Exactly.
asking whether the writers believed in the literal evangelical, everything literally happened just so truth, no, they weren't that dumb. If you're asking if they were sincere believers in their religion with goals and in line with their best understanding of how to express that, then I think yes, many or most of them were. So yeah, it's a bit of a tangled web depending on how you place it.
All right. How about we hop into Psalm 18
Dun,
just
dun,
to
dun,
get us
dun.
back on track? Is
Is
that
it my turn?
Lilith?
Is it my turn? Is it my
Yes.
turn?
Yes. And I did quite a lot of work on Psalm 18. I remember I covered a good chunk of this when we went over 2 Samuel 22 because
You
it's
did.
like almost a carbon copy, uh,
Mm.
with a few differences. But I'll reiterate a few things once we get through it.
Okay, this one. Oh, I get to start. Oh, this is a nice long one to make up for the short one last week. So, for the director of music of David, the servant of the Lord, he sang to the Lord the words of this song when the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. He said, I love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I call to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from mine enemies. The cords of death entangled me, the torrents of destruction overwhelmed me, the cords of the grave coiled around me, the snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help. From his temple, he heard my voice. My cry came before him into his ears. The earth trembled and quaked, and the foundations of the mountains shook. They trembled because he was angry. Smoke rose from his nostrils. Consuming fire came from his mouth. He was Smaug, apparently. Burning coals blazed out of it. He parted the heavens and came down. Dark clouds were under his feet. He mounted the cherubim and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his covering, his canopy around him, the dark rain clouds of the sky. Out of the brightness of his presence, clouds advanced with hailstones and bolts of lightning. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded. He shot his arrows and scattered the enemies, great bolts of lightning, and routed them. The valleys of the seas were exposed, and the foundations of the earth laid bare at your rebuke, O Lord, at the blast of breath from your nostrils. He reached down from on high and took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters. He rescued me from my powerful enemy, from my foes who were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my disaster, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord has dealt with me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands. He has rewarded me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord. I have not done evil by turning from my God. All his laws are before me. I have not turned away from his decrees. I have been blameless before him and have kept myself from sin. The Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands in his sight. To the faithful, you show yourself faithful. To the blameless, you show yourself blameless. To the pure, you show yourself pure. But to the crooked, you show yourself shrewd, to save the humble, but bring low those whose eyes are haughty. You, O Lord, keep my lamp burning. My God turns my darkness into light. With your help, I can advance against a troop. With my God, I can scale a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is flawless. He is a shield for all who take refuge in him. For who is God besides the Lord? And who is the rock except our God? I didn't know we were worshiping the rock, but okay. It is God who arms me with
Lots of
strength
times.
and
Sorry.
makes my way perfect. Better than Macho Man Randy Savage. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to stand on the heights. He trains my hands for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. You give me your shield of victory, and your right hand sustains me. You stoop down to make me great. You broaden the path beneath me so that my ankles do not turn. I pursued my enemies and overtook them. I did not turn back till they were destroyed. I crushed them so that they could not rise. They fell beneath my feet. You armed me with strength for battle. You made my adversaries bow at my feet. You made my enemies turn their backs in flight, and I destroyed my foes. They cried for help, but there was no one to save them. To the Lord, but he did not answer. I beat them as fine as dust borne on the wind. I poured them out like mud in the streets. Lovely. You have delivered me from the attacks of the people. You have made me the head of nations. People I did not know are subject to me. As soon as they hear me, they obey me. Foreigners cringe before me. They all lose heart. They come trembling from their strongholds. The Lord lives. Praise be to my God. Exalted be my Savior. He is the God who avenges me, who subdues nations under me, who saves me from my enemies. You exalted me above my foes. From violent men you rescued me. Therefore I will praise you among the nations, O Lord. I will sing praises to your name. He gives his great king great victories. He shows unfailing kindness to his anointed, to David and his descendants forever.
Did anyone notice
This is
the
a fun
Trump
one.
quote in that? You stoop down to make me great. That could be a Trump quote.
I doubt even God himself could stoop low enough to make Trump great.
My favorite Trump quote is, "Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make."
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I
The
swear,
king.
dude, we're living in a
Mark
fucking
Mark.
hellscape. So, a few things
Yeah.
here. One that I wanted to point out first on verse 6. From his temple he heard my voice, and my cry to him reached his ears. So we already talked about how Yahweh's dwelling was on Mount Zion, and this maintains the fact that Zion was his home. So not only does he command from there, but now he hears the psalmist while far away from him. You know, he heard my voice all the way from over there. Wow. That kind of thing. But yeah, Zion as being his seat there. And this is something I talked about a lot. These verses, or at least the parallels in 2 Samuel 22. Verses 7 through 15. It's clearly built on storm and war god imagery, and it's clearly a theophany. That's an appearance of God. And there's, of course, I want to point out the association of the heavens and the mountains. So, like in this psalm, we have the foundations of the mountains shook, but in 2 Samuel 22, it's the foundations of the heavens. So they clearly had this association, and we don't really know which one came first, but they clearly had that association because there's that replacement. And that's something I go over a lot in my capstone paper. And also, I want to point out, again, this is something I want to write a paper on, about divine darkness, because
Yeah.
there are a few places here, right? And it's more than just storm imagery, I think, because of the way it's used in other places. But yeah, here in verse 9, he bowed the heavens and came down. Thick darkness was under his feet. Verse 11, he made darkness his covering around him, his canopy, thick clouds, dark with water. So while you could easily say, like, oh, this is like, this could be imagery of a storm, right? I think there might be potentially, this is why I want to do a paper on this, potentially some hearkening back to this, like, between the earth and the heavens. Like, if you think about it in the way that they would have thought about it, where you do have this disk and then you have the cosmic ocean surrounding it, and then outside of that you have the firmament, the rakia.
The
So
layered fake heavens.
yes, so there was thought, at least by the Mesopotamians, that between those points, the edge of the world and the actual heavens, there was a section of darkness that one had to move through. Gilgamesh did this. He went through very, very much like, in Egyptian mythology, when the sun god goes through the 12 gates of the underworld.
Inanna.
This was like 12 gates of darkness, basically. And then there are 12 tunnels of it. I forget the word that's used for it, but he comes out the other side. So there was this idea that there is some darkness in the middle there somewhere. And I think, like, this might retain it. It might. The fact that after he bowed the heavens, thick darkness was under his feet. That might still contain that. But I could definitely see how this could be just more storm imagery. But that's something I want to get into more.
It's all images of domination, though, of God, breathing fire and rattling the foundations of the earth and riding the dark clouds that someone else might have to fight to pass through. But no, they're his bitch. It's very very I won the war because God loves me and I'm his favorite and fuck you all.
Well, this is very much. I mean, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm forgetting the word, but this is like the most theophany you could have. I mean,
Mhm.
this is what happens when a god shows up.
Mhm.
You have like the foundations of the whole earth trembling, the whole bunch of fire and smoke and storms, and so it's big stuff is happening.
Shit
Uh,
gets real.
yeah, it does. So Prinsloo notes that much of the psalm, so verses 16 through 19 and verse 46, is written as a polemic against enemy gods. So like the Lord lives, but the other gods are dead. Some scholars believe that since this psalm talks about combat on foot rather than on chariots, it may have been much earlier, or at least its original is very early. And it also has a wide variety of names of God. Some of this, particularly the references to the sea, may be a reference to the Red Sea crossing, but if it's really as old as some people think it is, it may have originally been left over from the Chaos Comp myth, which is like that battle
The
at the
great
beginning of creation.
the great sea, the chaos sea.
Yeah.
But like, you could. I don't know. I continue to think it could be both, right? Because
Right.
I think there's at a fairly early stage of of the sea crossing myth. It's very much a cosmic event.
Mm.
Even though it's probably rooted in a confrontation, like an actual confrontation between the Israelite people and a pharaoh from Egypt. They recast this in terms of like a chaos conf sort of myth, and you see a lot of that still there in
Mhm.
like in the Song of the Sea. I think it's still there, and in some of the Psalms that rehearse the events of the Exodus as well.
Yeah, I got a couple comments to read here. Reimer's Brigery Eye says, Kip, don't misbehave or the copper penis owl will come and get you.
What the fuck?
Is that a promise?
Then Trevor,
Isaac's like, don't threaten me with a good time.
Trevor in 369 says, Lawrence, what would you say is the most unbiblical interpretation, DF, of the Hebrew Bible rooted in conservative Christian thought that you may find problematic?
The first one that comes to mind.
Christianity.
Well, that is funny, but Lucifer.
Mm.
Oh, for
The
real?
fall of Lucifer.
God, for me, slavery.
Oh, sure.
Like 100%.
Well, they did.
Yeah,
The thing
and
is, they did have. They would be a biblical interpretation, wouldn't it? Because they absolutely had slavery.
Yeah,
And they were
yeah,
totally
but
fucking fine with
it's
unbiblical
a
interpretation.
it's an unbiblical interpretation to insist that they didn't.
Oh,
So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
it, where they're trying to make
it was-
it better
Or
than
as
it was.
one Texas history book actually said before it was banned for this reason, that the Texas history book said that African immigrants in the 18th and 19th century benefited from slavery in finding Jesus.
Oh my fucking.
well, that was yeah.
God.
It's also like a
That
PragerU
was
I would
a-
like to find
was
the
a
author of
talking-
that book and show them how I can benefit them.
That was a Confederate, like an actual Confederate talking point. I'm fairly sure, right? Was
Isn't
part
there
of
also
the
like
That was a
the
history book that
the
was proposed
ongoing
about a decade ago.
legitimation of slavery by the southern slaveholders was, well, I mean, it's this infantilizing white savior sort of uh perspective, right? Like we're helping them out, we're doing them a favor, it's the
It's
way through
disgusting,
which
but
we introduce the gospel. It's terrible.
I mean, didn't the Spaniards, when they were doing it, like, they didn't even convert them because they didn't wanna give them a real soul, because then they might have to treat them like people if they were
I
converted.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful to more awful if you go back. It's oh god.
There's also
Yeah.
like a Prager. Isn't there also like a PragerU created animation that was used by, was it Texas or Florida, like schools
I don't know
that
why
that had
anyone
similar talking points?
Yeah, I
uses
think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's
like
the most
literally a guy dressed
ridiculous
up like a
thing.
conquistador
I
saying
don't know if it
something
was
like,
used by schools. I remember they posted something stupid like that.
oh, maybe PragerU made something else that was similar for the schools. Okay.
Or they wanted it to be used by schools, and it might no doubt be
Mm.
used by private Christian schools in the
Yeah, yeah.
racist South. Oh my god. I just
Yeah, it is. It really is infuriating. Kip, Isaac, if anyone
There's one
has
more,
stuff to
no?
say on this.
I do. I have
Um,
an article. It's pretty interesting, this one, compared to the other one. Is the other one for us to read out as well?
Oh, the other comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Maybe I don't know exactly what that is, but okay.
Okay, so yeah, the atheist carpenter says Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra knew exactly the problems with communicating through metaphors.
yes!
I don't
I
know.
watched that Star Trek episode like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that's what the fuck that is.
Star Trek The
God.
Next Generation. Oh,
That's
yes. I love when a special interest side thing peaks at exactly the moment. It was an alien species that no one had been able to communicate with because they didn't speak like we speak. They only spoke in metaphor, referencing their own mythology, of course, as one does. And so they couldn't communicate. And so they stranded Picard on a planet with their captain, forcibly preventing him from being rescued. But like the idea was to force them into working together so they would come to understand each other. And what was it? God, his arms wide open meant I'm giving something to you. But then he ended up, well, other captain ended up injured and ultimately dying because Picard was frozen by an attempt to beam him out of there. But while he was with this other man, he ended up telling him tales of Gilgamesh and all this other stuff to give a common language. And then, yeah, metaphor is a wonderful thing. Myths are a wonderful thing. You tell a child who's struggling with reading a tale of a dark monster that would cloud the vision, but then they were given a special glasses and they were able to fight the monster off. You're able to mythologize their struggle. It makes it sound cool and like gives them a way to feel about it that isn't just disappointment and exhaustion in themselves. I've done that with children in my life. Almost exactly. But it's not literal. It's the insistence on pretending that's a literal thing in every way that is fucking it up. But yeah, communicating with myth, it shouldn't be that hard. We're humans. We've been coming up with this shit since the beginning, but apparently.
Okay, so Reimer's Braggery Eye addresses something to me. It says the copper penis owl is a Hungarian, I think, version of Krampus or the boogeyman. It titted the bears eating children narrative.
That must be some sort of spelling mistake.
Yeah, I can't imagine why the bears eating children would suddenly have tits.
Oh, they were female bears.
They were female bears.
In the Bible, yeah.
She bears that
So
ate
it's
children.
real obvious. Okay.
It titted. Okay. Okay, should I
Well,
start?
thanks for that clarification, which doesn't really help me at all. I'm still confused.
Yes, Isaac, please start.
Okay. Psalm 18 is the third longest psalm, with 119 being the first and 78 being
wow.
the second, and is mostly parallel with 2 Samuel 22. Craigie writes that in terms of certain forms and characteristics, 2 Samuel 22 appears to be the most archaic text. Well, I'm guessing more archaic text in this sense. This is not surprising, however, given that the psalm preserved in the Psalter continued to be used in Israel's worship, where scribes would update language and spelling over time. The version in Samuel likely had a more fixed textual history after it was included in that book. Craigie warns that the Samuel version should not automatically be considered closer to the original text. If the psalm was first composed and transmitted orally, then multiple variants could have already have existed from the earlier stages, reflecting different oral performances of the same song. Gerstenberger notes that the poem was identified with prescribed forms that range from Thanksgiving song of the individual, Kraus, Gunkel, to Royal Victory Hymn, Morvinkel, Cross, and Friedman, and Sabarin. He writes, however, that neither the parallel texts of plain Thanksgiving ceremonies, Psalms 30, 32, 40, 116, 118, nor those of royal and victory categories are fully congenial to Psalm 18. He writes that its reflective air and communal liturgical orientation, the influences of wisdom and universalistic hope, and its linguistic peculiarities all make Psalm 18 a song of early Jewish congregations, although older traditions also have clearly been worked into the text. He takes the psalm as a messianic thanksgiving song of the Jewish community. Craigie notes that there's some degree of unanimity among scholars that Psalm 18 is ancient, to be dated in the 11th or 10th century BCE. He writes that the evident antiquity of the psalm, taking in conjunction with the content of the title, make it most reasonable to suppose that the original form of Psalm 18 comes from the time of David or shortly thereafter. Terrien dates verses 2 to 20 to the 10th century, with its reminiscences of Ugaritic and its allusions to Canaanite mythology. He suggested that a poem on a theophany of the storm may have been composed by David himself or by a companion of this long-suffering, I think that's a spelling mistake, long-suffering and victorious guerrilla. Guerrilla as in like guerrilla warfare. He takes the rest of the psalm to be more recent, since they reflect sapiential meditation. Sapiential? Yeah.
Just to leave a note on that one right away. So this imagery was maintained like throughout like the Assyrian period as well. Like this theophany imagery, like it was fucking. We get some of it in Job too, so there's no way that you can use it to date it like that.
I don't know. Kraus writes that we could assign the original form of the psalm, which probably could not be ascertained to early times, perhaps even the 10th century. He notes that Cross and Friedman show ancient Canaanite elements, including orthographic peculiarities in the psalm. Still, Gunkel's observation on style are not to be put aside. Psalm 18 bears the mark of later formulation. So, yeah, it's more of a Craigie thing, I guess. And he's taking some, he's I guess, using these other people as sources for some other stuff. Yeah. I don't fully understand what I just read, but yeah.
Sorry, I had to interrupt, but I'm gonna have to run. But I'll be back next week. Oh, by the way, Peter Craigie was taught for many years at the University of Calgary, which is my hometown. But
Do you
anyways,
recognize any of these other names that I mentioned?
Oh yeah, Moenko was maybe the greatest Norwegian biblical scholar of the 20th century. But yeah, there's a bunch in there. But
Calgary is your hometown?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Are you sorry about that? It's a great place to. It was a great place to grow up. Seriously, the mountains are right fucking there. So, I mean, the nice thing about living in Calgary is you don't have to actually stay there very much. So, I literally spent my childhood and my adolescence in the mountains, like every weekend.
It's
So,
true. A lot of Albertans will travel over to BC too. Some of them have summer
yeah,
homes here. We've had to extra tax them because they keep fucking
yes,
up our
that's
rental
true.
market.
There's a whole bunch
You
of rich
assholes.
assholes in Calgary that that
They're the ones who,
yeah,
but
end
then
up
they're the ones who got that bitch elected who's worried about putting
yeah,
wind farms in Lethbridge because
Ford?
what
yeah,
if the wind stops?
yeah.
For those who don't know,
Is that
for those
Ford?
who don't know, Lethbridge
All right,
is a
I gotta
small
run.
town.
I'll
Okay,
see you guys.
Thank you, Kip.
Thank you, Kip.
love you, Kip. For those who don't know, Lethbridge is a small town in Alberta. And if you are not from Alberta or don't have a family from Alberta, you won't know this. But the joke in Alberta is that if you are born in Lethbridge, you don't need to get saved because everyone born in Lethbridge was already born again because the wind would push you back in and they'd have to rotate you. The wind has never stopped there for more than the 30 seconds it takes to change directions. If it stopped for a whole 5 minutes, I would be concerned that it might be the sign of the apocalypse. So
That explains that
But,
I
you know.
have relatives in Lethbridge who are now very, very Christian and left as an atheist here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, they're very religious in that part of Alberta. It's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but yeah, the joke in I mean, God, it's awful too. It's the stupidest kind of evangelicalism. But the joke Lethbridge weather is like, how many degrees do I need to walk against the wind?
There's also
Yeah,
a
it's getting
joke
confused
that
with,
Dutch people are not allowed to get in parties of threes in the open because they will start a new church. That is an actual joke.
I
from Leth-
mean, I fully believe that. That is, that's the same joke with the Jews. You know, if there's one Jew in a town, there's two synagogues. There's the synagogue he goes to and the synagogue he used to go to.
Yeah.
Alright,
That's-
So how about we hop into Psalm 19?
Should we? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why not.
Okay.
So I think that's Isaac.
Okay, I'll read it. For the leader, a psalm of David. The heavens declare the glory of God. The sky proclaims his handiwork. Day to day makes utterance. Night to night speaks out. There is no utterance. There are no words, whose sound goes unheard. Their voice carries throughout the earth, their words to the end of the world. He placed in them a tent for the sun, who is like a groom coming forth from the chamber, like a hero eager to run his course. His rising place is at one end of heaven, and his circuit reaches the other. Nothing escapes his heat. The teaching of the Lord is perfect, renewing life. The decrees of the Lord are enduring, making the simple wise. The precepts of the Lord are just, rejoicing the heart. The instruction of the Lord is lucid, making the eyes light up. The fear of the Lord is pure, abiding forever. The judgments of the Lord are true, righteous altogether. More desirable than much fine gold, sweeter than honey, than drippings of the comb. Your servant pays them heed. In obeying them, there is much reward. Who can be aware of errors? Clear me of unperceived guilt, and from willful sins keep your servant. Let them not dominate me. Then shall I be blameless and clear of grave offense. May the words of my mouth and the prayer of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Fun.
All right, so I do have a few things on this, and I think that there is. Are you using the JPS, Isaac?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that explains it. So for verse 1 there, yes, obviously, like the majesty of the heavens speak to, and I wrote this down mostly for myself, but to speak to God's kavod, his glory. That's also like his presence that is used, for example, in Exodus, like in the pillar of fire and whatnot. But the parallelism makes it clear that the firmament, that's the rakia, which
Rakia.
the JPS translates as sky, is to be seen as the heavens. But the word that's actually used there is rakia, which
Yeah.
is the firmament. So they do like to interpret that as sky, but it's clear that like the
The
heavens,
vault of the heavens.
yeah,
Mhm.
that the heavens and the rakia are paralleled.
Yeah.
But verses 1 through 4, yeah, while the celestial movements don't literally speak, they also show how great God is. But there is the ends of the earth is paralleled with the sun's path from the end of the heavens in verse 5.
Yeah.
And this is something I just kind of wanted to quick note here on verses 4c through 6. 4c was like the last part there. In the heavens, he has set a tent for the sun, which, by the way, is the same word for tabernacle. Sarna points out that this could have been used as a polemic against the gods, since gods among the other faiths were often associated with the sun and sun worship. And multiple verses in the Old Testament tell people not to worship celestial objects. This could have been an attack on pagans. They have taken their sun worship and made it devoid of the other gods. But because of this, he concludes that it was written after the Josianic reforms. But there, the thing is, I'm sure you noticed at this point, after verse 6, we stop talking about like the celestial movements and we start talking about the law and how purifying it is and refining.
It's given 119 preview, like a
Sure,
little
yeah.
bit.
But the thing is, like, a lot of people, I think this is the one where some people thought that these were separate initially, or not initially, but like a lot of people, I think, believe that these are separate. There are a few reasons.
Yeah.
Because there's a like obviously we have a bunch of different ways of saying the same thing there about how the law is purifying in some way. And it's like enlightening and all this stuff, but because of the change in topic, some have taken these two as like initially separate psalms. There's also the change in the name of God. Furthermore, there is a different, at least according to Prinsley, there's a different metric pattern between the two halves. He says, Prinsley says that the wisdom character of the psalm reflects an exilic or post-exilic date. Now, Sarna argues that initially they were one because the sun gods were often invoked in legal texts. So they may
Yeah.
have been part of the same original composition, which is true. In ancient Eastern legal texts, there are plenty of references to like Shamash, for example. But I think that if there is like that different metric pattern, then it's probably from a different psalm. Like, just I think that one is kind of like the the nail in the coffin.
It's given, yeah, it's giving that. It's
Like, even if you
I
can tie in together the concepts, like the different metric pattern's a problem.
I got
That's
another
fair.
comment to read, and this one, I'm often confused by comments because the punctuation may be the issue, but I'm not sure what they're trying to say otherwise. Trevor 369 says, you've mentioned, it doesn't specify who mentioned this. You've mentioned a victory hymn. Was this practice or tradition common to other Near Eastern countries?
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. They might have been referencing the victory hymn, the one that we actually had Kip in to translate his version of the, after the crossing of the Red Sea and Moses and all that jazz. The one that mentions a Shirin, he kept in all of the polytheism, which I really appreciated in his translation. But yeah, victory hymns, there are hymns for everything. There are hymns for going into war. There are hymns for coming out of war. There are hymns for times of trouble and times of joy. The idea, it's a little hard to explain to anyone who's never been a believer that you are supposed to have this reverence for the word of God. And it's it's almost romantic. This law of God is perfect. It's been given to us. It is points the way to life because apparently if you do all the law things, you will have a good and blessed life. So this is very valuable, obviously. But it's not just that you must legally do thus and so and thus and so and thus and so, but that there's this sense of gratitude of idolization of this great gift from the hand of the divine for your good in the law. So the sentiment there is a really important part of it. Um, but yeah, in this case, we're looking at a prayer of David. David as a character, he had a lot of strong ups and downs in his life. And sometimes I think, obviously, there was the myth of him being the musician and writing psalms, but also the ups and downs of his life, I think, reflected all the sorts of things about which you would want to make sacred songs: betrayal, loss, repentance for wrongdoing, fear of enemies, victory over enemies, having gone through times of trial and come out the other side. All these things are things that humans need to express, and that worship is at least intended to give you an outlet for and to address.
I got one more comment from Elira the Free, sent 20 RN Raw gift memberships. Again, thank you enormously. The change in the membership rate, we had, I think, originally 400, and we're like, I think, sitting at 1,000 or something
Oh.
like this. And all of that difference,
Is a lira.
yeah, I think that's correct. There may be one other person, but it does sound correct to me. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Elira.
Okay, continuing on.
Well, I think Isaac, do you have the commentary for this? You're muted.
All right. Many commentators are of the opinion that Psalm 19 is composed of two psalms, with section A, verses 1 through 6, 2-7 in the Masoretic, being a hymnic praise of Yahweh in nature, Kraus, or a hymn to creation with particular emphasis upon the sun, Craigie, and section B, verses 7 through 14, or 8-15 in the Masoretic, speaking of the glory of the Torah. However, as Gerstenberger notes, the different parts may have been used as a liturgical unit. Craigie writes that it's reasonable that the psalm in its present form is a unity, either composed as a single piece, or else the author took a fragment of an old hymn, section A, and extended it by means of a theological commentary and comparison. Gerstenberger notes that section A has many similarities with numerous ancient Near East eulogies of the sun god, especially in Egypt. For example, in the hymn of the sun god Anet 387,
That's
when thou art.
That's ANEP, by the way. That's ancient Near Eastern texts.
Okay, ancient Near Eastern text. Okay, that makes sense. When thou art risen over the mountains, thou dost scan the earth of heaven. Thou art holding the ends of the earth suspended from the midst. The people of the world, all of them, thou dost watch over. He writes that since verses 5c through 7 concede a good bit of autonomy to the hero god, sun, this part may represent an even older layer of sun worship. Kraus writes that while section A exhibits all the signs of great age, section B should probably not be dated before the time of Ezra. He argues that praise of the Torah presupposes that the Torah as a complex unity, codified in written form, and of high authority in the life of the Old Testament community, played a special role. Likewise, okay, this bit he used some Hebrew words and it got mixed up. So I don't know exactly where I'm supposed to read what. Likewise, warn occurs almost exclusively in Ezekiel. Gerstenberger writes that in linguistic usage, section B has features of late Old Testament literature. For example, the verb trespass is late priestly and sapiential usage. For example, Leviticus 4:13, Numbers 15:22, Proverbs 5:19 through 20 and 23. I don't know. This Terrian says something. However, writes that Psalm 19 was composed as a poetic unit based on affinities of language and theme, as well as splendid regularity of strophic structure. He argues that the psalmist may have lived before the Deuteronomic age and the reform of Josiah. Okay, so a couple of different opinions there.
Well, and that's what comes with having what appears to be two different sources. As Lawrence pointed out, you can have thematic continuation, but different, structural patterns are.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely makes sense that the second section is much, much later. Since it's talking about the Torah as like this thing that we all know.
You
and
could have someone
revere.
taking bits of different texts and putting them together into a new song. Actually, Christians do that all the time with the Psalms. Lots of times when we've been going over here, I've noticed little clips, bits at the beginning or the end of a psalm or a line in the middle that is incorporated into modern praise and worship songs, like all the time.
The last line of
Ooh.
verse 19. Or no, I was thinking of 18. Like the last line of that psalm is like used in like grace after meals and stuff like that.
I think
The rest of it isn't that interesting, but
I think she loves you.
oh,
So I've got another comment to read. This one, Dara O'Kane 4236 says, "Who the F is God fighting in the Old Testament? He's depicted as a badass warrior. We know it isn't Lucifer yet. Who did the Jews at the time think that he is fighting against?"
Well, it's not that he was fighting against someone at the time, like specifically, aside from your own enemies. It's that like he had already fought like the
sea.
It would be the equivalent of like Tiamat. So like the Tehom, right? So he fights like the cosmic waters,
Leviathan.
Yeah, the waters of chaos. Yeah, Leviathan included. So like all those things, like he already fought, but like now they're just kind of waiting for, the new heaven and the new earth.
He is also at least partially a war god. So the idea is that he is assisting you in destroying your foes. You want to get him on your side so that you will be assured the victory. By him, I don't know, inspiring you and your men, or possibly sabotaging the other guy. A lot of stories where they give God credit for that. But either way, you've got God is supposed to be fighting on your side. You're fighting the enemies of your people. Not directly, obviously. It's like Mars or any other war god. You invoke them in the hopes that it will turn the celestial balance scale in your favor. Because war is their purview. Lawrence?
All right. So are we? That was the end of the commentary there.
I think he did give me one more, but let me see if he actually finished that one.
For Psalm 20?
Yeah, there is Psalm 20 here.
Okay. I mean,
you want to do Psalm 20 and finish, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty short. I want to get as close as possible to Psalm 22. Is the thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but does Aaron want to read it?
So I guess I will read it.
Yeah, where's our illustrious leader? Get back here, Aaron. Bring your kitty.
The Lord. This is Psalm 20 here. To the leader, a Psalm of David. The Lord answer you in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your victory, and in the name of our God, set up our banners. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. Now I know that the Lord will help his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with mighty victories by his right hand. Some take pride in chariots and some in horses, but our pride is in the name of the Lord our God. They will collapse and fall, but we shall rise and stand upright. Give victory to the King, O Lord. Answer us when we call. So I do have a few notes on this. Nothing super long. Once again, in verse 2, we have Yahweh seated being in Zion, dwelling on the mountain. For verse 3, they have the burnt offerings. So, but since this was written at a time when you could still go to the temple to sacrifice, I think it's likely pre-exilic. And this psalm may have accompanied the sacrifice. Verses 6 through 9, Yahweh again answers from his holy heaven, which is Zion. And Prinsloo notes the phrasing of verse 6 is anointed, and verse 9, the king, makes it apparent that in this context, you refers to the king. And the military terminology in the psalm indicates that the word trouble refers to a military threat. Yeah,
In this
genuinely,
context,
that's all I have.
certainly see that.
It is. Are we on 19 right now, or did I?
20.
Where are
Yes,
we? Are
I
in
read 20. I did your job.
Ah,
So
you guys.
I don't know if anyone else has commentary on that.
I do. I'm just trying to figure out this part. More or less, Tomer writes his commentary in English, but in a Hebrew language notes program, probably. So all of his punctuation are right to left, but the English is left to right, and things get messed up sometimes.
I
when
can
opened in
understand
a-
how that would be confusing.
Yeah, so on my I'm just opened it in like notes, and my
How good are
laptop
you
and
in Hebrew?
my Hebrew is like conversational is okay, but I can read
Okay.
read it. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Psalm 20 is generally taken to be a royal liturgy. Gerstenberger writes that if traditional exegesis is correct, then Psalm 20 is a royal prayer administered by the court clergy in a field service before battle. The psalm would be composed of intercession, verses 1 through 5 or 2 through 6 in the Masoretic, and oracular response, verses 6 through 9 or 7 through 10 in the Masoretic. He suggests, however, that the prayer is a piece of small-scale liturgy concerned about the afflictions of a local congregation. He writes that it communicates the nurturing blessings of the worshippers to the distressed individuals and reinforces these blessings with a fleeting glimpse of messianic expectation, verse 7, and with an appeal to joint faith, will, and experience, verses 8 through 9. Kraus notes that opinions vary as to the dating of Psalm 20, with some suggesting the time of David, Visa, and others to the Hasmonean kingdom, Doom. He writes, however, that Gunkel has found the right explanation in this is the bit where it gets all messed up. In suggesting a late theology which leaves the impression of pre-exilic times. He writes, conspicuous is the heavily profiled theology in Jerusalem that became a permanent.
Conspicuous?
I mean, that's
Was that supposed to be conspicuous?
Yes. What did I say?
Conspicuous.
Oh. Conspicuous is the heavily profiled theology in Jerusalem had become a permanent Deuteronomic slant, and yet it would be conceivable that this element of tradition of the central sanctuary, even before the 7th century. Terrien suggested that it may have come from the late 7th century, perhaps in preparation for the crowning of the young King Josiah. Craigie comments, the precise occasion on which this liturgical psalm would have been used remains uncertain, while some scholars propose a setting in an annual festival or anniversary of the kingship, or even a New Year festival. It is more probable that the liturgy was used in a special service prior to the departure of the king and his army for a battle or military campaign. A description of a similar ritual occasion is provided in 2 Chronicles 20. The King's Prayer, chapter 25 through 12, and B, an oracular pronouncement from a Levite in chapter 20, 30 through 17. C, concluding praise, chapter 20, 18 through 19. On this interpretation, Psalm 20 would have been the liturgy employed for one part of the larger ritual. Similar rituals were common in ancient Near Eastern religions as a whole. The title verse, verse 1, and the indication that this psalm was incorporated in the musical director's collection may imply that at a later date, the psalm passed into general liturgical usage and lost its particular associations with the royal ritual preceding a military campaign.
I can definitely see, especially the first 5 verses of this, as a blessing you would give to troops. You know, may the Lord strengthen you. May the Lord, blah, 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 blah. May you be blessed. May you be blessed going out to battle. And that could very easily then have folded into a tradition. You think about Veterans Day, November 11th here in Canada. I don't know how you guys celebrate, but you know, they will play the call of the trumpet that would go at sun up and sundown. There'll be little bits of the military ceremony that we incorporate to honor those people and the situation they were in and what they went through. And it's so you can see that kind of evolution here of something. And yes, you know, are there arguments to be made for both before and after? It's very interesting to try and figure that out. But also, yeah, some of these things are carried over and maybe you lead into the angle that works best for you. So
yeah, it is
songs
interesting
work
that this
like that.
psalm seems to have this very specific usage, and then it.
Mhm.
But to me, Psalm 20 is like the psalmist of psalms. It's the go-to, like, oh, I'm gonna say a psalm for so oh, someone's sick, say Psalm 20. Like
Yeah, I can see it
like
becoming
I
a
don't
more
I don't know if
generic
that's like a
blessing.
I don't know if that's a thing outside of Judaism, but it's literally like it's, you know, if you hear someone's gone sick and maybe you don't know them very well, so you're going to say one psalm, you'll say Psalm 20. Um, and like, you know, if you know someone, then they're more likely to break up the whole book, and and everybody take one psalm or a few psalms to so that the whole book is said. But like Psalm 20 is kind of like that. It's the first,
It's a
like, out
go-to.
1 through 19. I don't know, like I
Not
can't
a
really
Hail
give you
Mary
really like this.
exactly, but like a
Mm.
frequently reused
But Psalm
liturgical
20 I
prayer
know
for
off by heart
multi-purpose.
because it
Yeah.
was said so often.
Okay. Okay.
But 1 through
And
19 is like,
that's definitely an appropriate use of the Psalms to use as
yeah, it's
prayers,
interesting.
liturgical prayers. Modern evangelicals hate the idea of liturgical prayers because how dare you use someone else's words? Then you're not really talking to God. And I'm like, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then other people were like, hey, some of these people devoted their entire lives to prayer. Maybe they might have a good phrasing for it. You know, maybe they know what they're doing. I'll piggyback and copy their homework. So, but yeah, that's I can absolutely see that. And you can see that going from a more, you know, wars and raids, and that's the big problem in your lifetime, to more complex. The world, you're still struggling, you know, you can still be in trouble and distress and need protection and sanctuary and support. And want your plans to succeed without war explicitly. It's just life. And life do be like that though.
Yeah, I guess it just shows that people were like, you know, this song, maybe it was used in this specific way, but like it speaks to me, so we're gonna just use it, and it becomes
Absolutely.
part of the main liturgy.
And it's also an explicit blessing. May the Lord answer you when you are in trouble. May it's your
Yeah.
wishing, not quite speaking it into existence, but you're kind of trying to put the weight behind it of your words, whatever magic power your words might have. So yeah, it's very much the type of thing you could see a father reciting to their children when they go out into the world or whatever. You know, it's call and response things like that are an interesting development in human culture, but I think it's quite common, very human.
Okay. I think we're done.
Are we done with it? So we're going to do one more, are we? today?
No.
Like I am
Well-
fine with doing one more.
I have no.
Okay.
I have no.
Tomer does
didn't
not have
prepare for
notes
it.
on 21.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't have notes on 21, I do. So, all right.
Oh, I don't know.
What
Listen,
time is it?
Yeah, Tomer told me that he didn't have notes for 22. That he
That
did
is
not
also
have-
what he told me.
He did notes up to 22.
Yeah.
He
I
did
believe
send
that
me
was
that is
his
what he
goal
said.
this week, but he's been a little yeah.
You know, I
It's
get
been
it.
a little
I get
crazy.
it.
No, yeah, I want to be respectful and all of that.
Yeah.
Of
I mean, we'll do
course.
Psalm 22 next time. So if we preface it with Psalm
We
21,
know that. Do we?
it's quite short
do
now.
21 next time, or do we do 21 today?
Well, I guess well, Kip already left, but like I know that Kip wants to spend a lot of time on Psalm 22.
Yeah.
And like
So
Psalm 21's short.
we can ask Tomer for any additional comments at the beginning of the show next time from 21.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Anything he
Yeah,
wants to
right. We could read it now, and then maybe do like he can.
I
read
also
it on
want to
sure.
throw out that Illyra the Free sent out 50 RN Raw gift
Wow.
memberships. Again.
Illyra is your fairy godmother.
I need to talk to this person again, just out of fairness.
Yeah, what do you do for a living?
I can
said
I
she
can
lives
I can
somewhere where
set
at
Not
least
where I was going with that.
I can set that up, Arn, and I would love to be there when you do. I'd love to talk to her.
And so I see that somebody else had put a comment up here, and where did it go?
About
Yeah,
Tisha.
Illyra has.
God, is that why Trump held a prayer session?
yeah, I see that. Yeah, from Illyra.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking about doing a video on Trump doing the prayer session on all these fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Putting their hands on Trump. What you could establish an electronic connection? Is that what you're trying to do by putting your hands on each
Oh
other?
no, that's an evangelical
Oh,
thing.
that's
They
what it
absolutely lay
was.
hands on you for spiritual pass your spiritual power, invoke the spirit of God.
Well, you can tell the being who knows everything what he needs to do.
It's more like if enough of his kids suck up to him and nag him, maybe he'll do something.
He'll change the plan that was perfect.
Yeah. Well, yes, but no. Sometimes the plan includes your prayer because remember, God knows what he wants to do, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to hear you beg for it.
That's what that picture was. I thought they were playing a weird rendition of musical chairs where when the music stops you have to touch the nearest pedophile. Sorry, pedophile. Actually, sorry, illegal.
Okay, then
Yeah.
Lear the Free asks, is Arn's t-shirt available somewhere? I did not make this t-shirt. This is not one of, I have made some, but this is not one of the ones that I made. So yes, it's available somewhere. I would have to Google it. So. All right, let's try to get through this. If we're gonna do 21, let's do it. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, one more comment before you do the last one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
I think they go together, the last two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the last two go together.
This one is for our hosts doing one more.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's you, Arn.
Another 50. Wow.
Outstanding. All right, so 21. Okay. The king rejoices in your strength, Lord. How great is his joy in the victories you give. You have granted him his heart's desire and have not withheld the request of his lips. You came to greet him with rich blessings and placed a crown of pure gold on his head. He asked you for life, and you gave it to him. Length of days forever and ever. Through the victories you gave, the glory is great. You have bestowed upon him splendor and majesty. Surely you have granted him unending blessings and have made him glad with the joys of your presence. For the king trusts the Lord. Through the unfailing love of the Most High, he will not be shaken. Your hand will lay hold on all of your enemies. Your right hand shall seize your foes when you appear for battle. You will burn them up in a blazing furnace. The Lord will swallow them up in his wrath, and he will and his fire will consume them. You will destroy their descendants from the earth, their posterity from mankind, though they plot evil against you and devise wicked schemes. They cannot succeed. You will make them turn their backs when you aim at them with drawn bow. Be exalted in your strength, Lord. We will sing and praise your might, because we need to reassure you, not us. We're not assuring ourselves of you. We're reassuring you, not us, that there is a you. And that's why we praise you, even though you don't need praise. But we praise so that we can pretend that there is a you.
Well, it's our natural position in the universe to be so overwhelmed by God's whatever that we just have to worship him, because this affirms our place in the universe, which apparently is supposed to be kissing his ass. And no, thank you.
I'm interested, Lilith. I mean, you were a believer once upon a time. The whole thing about kissing his ass, did that make sense to you at some point in your life?
In a sense, yes. I obviously I would not have phrased it that way at the time, and I'm phrasing it that way now. But when you're given something you must believe, you find ways to understand it, and it involves more complex thinking. The idea was, it's to focus more on the carrot than the stick. You're supposed to have the promise of Christianity is that you can have this relationship with your creator who understands you, who can support and love you and make a wonderful plan for your life. And there can be actually it's really funny. I remember reading someone who was talking about mass hypnotism techniques that he learned, and he was studying magic or something, and then he went to a church and found them literally using those same techniques, but the pastor wasn't aware of it as that. He thought it was the Holy Spirit. And so it's not a purely logical thing, it's an emotional thing. And you're told that this is like the most loving and satisfying relationship, and so you put your whole self into it. And it's easy to get a feedback loop going where you feel this warmth and love, and and the feelings are very real and very passionate. And for all that, so are the feelings of stalkers for celebrities they know nothing real about. So it's extremely painful in a way I don't think I could ever describe to someone who has not lost something that intimate. It is extremely painful to realize that all of those experiences were very real to you, and yet in no way prove that anything you believed on their basis was true.
Thank you for that. All right, do we have any commentary on this?
Yeah, I got some. So obviously, especially in these opening verses 1-7, God is anointing a king. So he's given him a crown in verse 3, and interestingly, he bestowed him with hod, honor, and hadar, majesty. And there was a section some earlier that we had that as well. And in verse 5, it says, "His glory, kavod, is great through your help." The fact that a human king is getting these godly traits shows the high position of the king as God's chosen and elected representative on earth. So it's a very exalted position. And in verses 8 through 13, so there's the fire and swallowing imagery that's used. So obviously the fire imagery is used a lot, but so like this might be a reference to Sodom, and the swallowing might be a reference to Korah's rebellion, where the earth swallows up the people. Although I should say that swallowing is also used to describe swords killing people too, like the sword swallowing someone would be a sword killing someone. So that one's not really necessary. But making them like a fiery furnace might come with the imagery of a theophany and divine Melamu, or the that was the Assyrian word for it, the kavod basically. And it even includes the warrior imagery in verse 12, where he says, "You will aim at their faces with your bows."
Okay, all this swallowing of swords and aiming
Yeah,
at their
I know.
faces, and sorry, what?
The sword is the one that swallows, by the way.
So when you're aiming at their faces, is that when they're being anointed?
No, those are different people, Art.
How does Bukake always come up? Well, I mean, he is a war god. What do I know? Maybe he comes arrows.
The Bukake Messiah.
Yo, new band name just dropped.
Oh, I'm good to hell.
Oh Lord, come upon me.
Oh no, he wants to come inside you.
Yeah, swallowing swords.
Yes. Well, Jesus does have a sword in his mouth.
Yeah, and staff. Never mind. But back to the subject.
Yes. Speaking of that, someone in the comments asked about how common is speaking in tongues.
That is actually okay. There's two things speaking in tongues can mean. One is where you speak in your own language and you are heard in another language by another person. I have heard many people claim to have had this happen and certainly interpret the Bible story in this way, but these are all slightly dodgy hearsay situations.
I thought that was only things the apostles could do or something like that.
Yeah, well, okay. Some people, then there's this whole thing about the blessings of the Holy Spirit, and tongues is one of the gifts of the Spirit. The other one, the one that is more popular, less scriptural, but a lot more fun at parties, is the gibberish talking one where they jump up and down and fall over because they're slain in the Spirit or whatever. That speaking in tongues is supposed to be just the Spirit speaking through you without impulse. Basically, there's a trick in your brain where you sort of get your speech centers but bypass your critical thinking entirely, and you can kind of automatic speak gibberish and just let it flow, and then you will say meaningless things.
They've done studies on it, and everybody that speaks in tongues uses like the phonetic system or whatever of the language that they speak.
Yeah, it's not a language. It's supposed to be the outcry of the Holy Spirit within you,
but like
speaking beyond words. And sometimes emotions are but there are some literal evangelicals who actually believe it's some kind of a language. I was told you could start by saying banana backwards.
Banana backwards.
Banana backwards.
My friend Pit Monk, who passed away recently, he used to be a Baptist preacher, and the thing is, like, he would speak in tongues, but then there was one time he got really lazy with it and started saying shit like Mitsubishi and like Tamaha or some shit like that, and everyone got really mad about it. And
isn't that like a comedy, like horror movie? What's it called?
That sounds very much
The
like a
little
comedy
Japanese,
skit.
the
I
little,
should
the
mention
little.
there are a couple of different schools of thought when it comes to Protestant Christianity on speaking in tongues, and I'm just going to talk about the Protestants. The Pentecostals believe that if you are baptized in the Holy Spirit, which is necessary to salvation, you will speak tongues. Others point out that tongues is only one of the gifts and by no means the most important. Anyone who has any gifts of the Spirit has been baptized in the Holy Spirit. And so the Pentecostals, if you can't speak in tongues, the Pentecostals will tell you you're not saved. Saner Christians will say that's ridiculous and you could have other gifts of the Spirit. And then there are those who believe that speaking in tongues, gibberish talk thing is actually demonic. It's a sign that you, in your attempt to force the Holy Spirit to do what you want and give you what you want, you have somehow invited demonic influence into your life, and that is demons speaking through you. So the Christians have diverse thoughts on the matter.
I mean, the videos I've seen of people like in worship doing speaking in tongues, and that it looks more like what movies would depict as demonic than it does divine.
I can certainly understand where you're coming from that, especially the shaky, jumpy ones where the preacher who's trying to heal you hits you in the forehead and knocks you out so that he can
And
say
children
the
and
spirit
children
came over you.
crying and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm not going to argue with that, but I'm that doesn't mean, given all the evidence thus far, I would say that doesn't actually rule out the Holy Spirit. That being said, yeah, it's there have been the arguments, the mutual excommunication. At least they're less stabby about it these days.
Someone asked,
Less.
can I speak in parcel tongue in church or will I be kicked out? But they wrote it parcel, like PARCEL, parcel
Yeah,
tongue.
you know what they mean, snake leg. I wouldn't
Yeah,
get too hissy. They might try and give you an exorcism, which, like, if they're just yelling over you is merely annoying, but if they start splashing things on you and trying to hold you underwater and, like, hit you with the Bible, that could actually be dangerous. So, maybe
Yeah.
stay away from anything too snaky.
Yeah,
would be
like
so
parcel,
useful for me.
PARCEL tongue. That's probably more cargo cult than Christianity.
Yeah. Sorry, you were
So
saying?
Trevorn369 says the fact that he needs to be worshipped should be a deal breaker to anyone waking up to the realization that no good God needs a reminder of himself to everyone every time that he exists. Exactly. If there was a God, he knows exactly how great he is. He knows that he's more powerful than you. He would certainly know that he exists. You need to praise him
He
so
would
that you
know.
can convince yourself that he exists.
And this is a point of doctrine, actually. Better and more mature Christians that I have dealt with who were trying to, bring me to a more mature understanding of faith have said, prayer doesn't change God, it changes you. The point of prayer is for you to commune with God and receive comfort and strength and possibly start to understand, a better plan. Or if you can't, exercise the faith in God's plan that it will all come right in the end. That is genuinely doctrinally, prayer is primarily supposed to be for you, but yet it sounds so much like worship all the time, and all these records we have are of worship. And worship, just like fight or flight or freeze, fawn, is a danger response. And this later understanding of spirit, or a higher spiritual understanding of communion, most people who get that far stay in their faith because, it can be a very personally satisfying exercise, and spiritually so, if I could use that word in any kind of real way.
Yeah, like I'm all for people like just bettering themselves. Like I'd rather have a bunch of good Christians than like a bunch of bad atheists, right? But like so like when people talk about their faith, I'm like, listen, if it helps you and you're not hurting anyone, fine. Like I don't care. But then they start legislating based off of their own personal experiences, their own faith, their own any kind of religious experience they would have too. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Go back into your hole.
Yeah,
Yeah, if it
interestingly,
neither
I am not at all bothered by good Christians on the rare occasion that we encounter one. But if there's ever a bad atheist, fuck, dude, we all need to drag you into a corner.
It's true. It's an interesting double standard, but
Yeah.
Always just throw them in what do they call it? No atheists in a
foxhole.
foxhole. Yeah, just throw them in a foxhole, and then there won't be
I guess,
atheists anymore.
and one of the reasons why that doesn't bother me is because the good Christians are still on my side of most arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because
go to Gulag.
honestly, it may surprise people to hear this from a quote unquote internet atheist. But of the Christians I have known in my life, there have been so many excellent people, truly excellent people, good, kind people doing their best. And I honestly don't think God deserves his followers. He doesn't, because they feel the need to say, oh, it's all God. Every time I help my neighbor or do this kindness, it's for Jesus. It's all Jesus. No, it's not. You're just a good person. And you would have been a good person without Jesus. And now Jesus gets to take credit.
Yeah.
While the other half of his followers are running around trying to destroy civilization because daddy wants a big war.
Also, Isaac, if they tell you there are no atheists in foxholes, point them to me. I was in a foxhole in the Netherlands in December while it was snowing. It was cold.
One of the
Did you
first
find
people I
Jesus?
ever
No.
interviewed as an internet activist was, I can't remember his name now because it was so long ago, but he ran an atheist group called Atheists in Foxholes, where he said that
It's in their
some
website.
chaplain had criticized him, told him to his face. He said, there are no atheists in foxholes. And he goes, no, I've been in foxholes where I've noticed that there are no chaplains in foxholes.
Oh, damn.
Dang it. And
That's a
again,
good burn. That's a damn good burn.
That's going to need a skin graft. Aloe vera ain't cutting it on that one.
All right. So where are we on 21? Are we done?
Yep, we're all done.
Okay. So next week, everyone, with Kip.
Yes.
Yep, that's the
We
plan.
will find him and we will drag him here.
Very,
And-
very good.
And
All right.
make sure to join the Discord. It's the only Discord
Homer's
that
Discord.
you'll ever need. It is my Discord, in fact. No matter what anyone else
He's
says.
not here to say it.
It is the Behold Network Discord.
Behold.
And we do a lot of stuff over there. And you should definitely do that. And then obviously subscribe to the Behold Network, the greatest YouTube channel on all of YouTube channels.
Yeah, now
All
we
right,
have a
Isaac,
problem. So how are we going to end the show because Tomer's not here?
Isaac
Oh.
is speaking for Tomer this time.
I'll do it.
So
Hold on.
Isaac.
I'll do it. Hold on.
Okay.
להתראות. Bye-bye.
It's time. It's time we end the show. Oh, yeah. This has been a reading of the Psalter.